What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Flash video. So if you are new to the channel, please do consider leaving a like and a subscribe down below if you did enjoy the video, of course. So this was and still is an incredibly controversial episode for fans of the Flash. I know myself, I was playing devil's advocate. I was willing to give the whole Iris being a speedster thing a go because I knew it would simply just be one episode or even just a couple of minutes in an episode, to be honest. But what we got here was something which was a complete and utter letdown and made me look like a bit of an idiot because I was willing to give it a go and it's completely failed, even though Den of Geek have called this the best episode of The Flash in quite some time. Now, Den of Geek, if you're watching this, can I have some of what you've been smoking? Please. Because I want to enjoy this episode the way you guys did, because no way was this the best episode in quite some time. Not by a long shot. Especially when last week we had Enter Flash Time, which was an absolutely stunning performance by Grant Gustin here. And he was amazing. He really did turn it up. I felt like he's been slacking and phoning it in the last couple of weeks, or maybe most of this season even. But here, he was amazing. And the kind of concept really flipped it on the head. We didn't really have a big bad or a kind of meta of the week. Technically, what we actually had was the Flash using his noggin, although Iris was the one to work it out at the end, but we'll just forget about that. Now here we see Iris get her powers from Melting Pot, and the actor who played Melting Pot was the dude who was actually in Westworld, so he was the one, the kind of, I'm not exactly sure what his job role was in Westworld, but he was the one, I think he was helping Tandy Newton's character get out of the facility. So yeah, bit cool there. And we did have the generic English villain again, and Cisco does a terrible English accent in this episode. Please stop. Please just stop. But what we also had was Moose from Glee playing a villain who got the powers from Melting Pot. He then turned to be evil. Oh my god, that is just terrible writing. And throughout the whole episode really did suffer from terrible writing, which was a real shame because this could have been a chance to really show the haters of Iris. A lot of people really dislike Iris. And I play devil's advocate. She's okay once she's not involved. And they've done a step. They've got a step here where they could actually fix everything and fix Iris because she's working on a blog again for once. So she's actually doing something that she's qualified to do. She's a journalist. Now, another thing which really was bad was the way Ralph was actually dealt with. Now, he has the threat of his life. He is really kind of resentful of Iris, that she's the leader. She doesn't really do much. She just sits behind a computer and that's it. That's all she does. Now she tried to go out in the wider world as the Flash. Yeah, I don't know why they've done this, because it's just made her look worse. But Ralph is really bitter, and I can understand why, but they just made him into a complete and utter jerk. I mean, he's not himself whatsoever, and the way he kind of gets really angry at the way that Harrison Wells has this idea, and everyone's like, yeah, no, we're not going to go down that route because it's just going to go really wrong. He just literally kind of gets really angry at it, and it just seems really irrational. It's completely different to how he was last week. It just felt completely odd, which was a real shame because he's easily one of the best characters on the show and possibly one of the best written as well. Now, Iris did get her powers, of course, like I said, from Melting Pot, and well, Barry doesn't have his powers. Now, in this episode, this really would have been a great idea to get into the psyche of Barry Allen and understand and see him feel what it's like to not have his powers and be helpless, and also come to terms with who he is, because the last 3 or 4 years he's been the Flash and now he's not. And we didn't even get into that at all. That's a story which I think would have been a much more interesting to delve into just a bit more. But they just didn't really do that. They just skimmed past it. They had a little coupley moment, and that was it. It just felt really kind of brushed aside, which is really how it shouldn't actually be. And they made her to be some total and utter wimp. So what we had was she was stuck and she couldn't vibe. However, she didn't even try. He was like, just do it. Come on, you've got to try. And she was like, no, I can't. And she didn't even bother. She didn't even bother to try. Which makes me not like her because I hate people who don't even try things. And I think that she is just awful. Now, she's not quite Felicity level bad. She's just getting there. She's almost at that Felicity stage because she's just not completely annoying or whatsoever. But I am just sick of her being the leader of Team Flash when there's a hell of a lot more kind of qualified people. And it seems they're really doubling down on the fan base of Candice Patton, who is, yeah, she's a great actress. She's really good. But they're really dialing down on the whole female thing. It just feels really, really forced, just like episode 5, which had the feminist episode, which was beyond totally cringe. And now I'm all for representation. Of course, I absolutely love Supergirl and things like that. But it's coming at well, at least Iris's push is coming at the detriment of other characters, especially Cisco and Caitlin, because Killer Frost could have been used. Why did they not use Killer Frost here at all? Killer Frost could have, kind of tried to put those fires out and things like that, but they didn't even use her at all. Like, literally at all. She was stuck trying to work out how to splice the two DNAs back together and get Barry his meta powers, which was really, really odd. Because really, Killer Frost would have been perfect, especially at least for either the fire at the start or the tidal wave at the end. However, they are kind of marrying up. These are kind of two things that Barry did. He went into a burning building and created a tidal wave, so I guess they want to mirror that, which I can get behind. I can understand that. But Killer Frost should have actually been involved because, well, she could have possibly put out the fire better. Or at least, I agree with Ralph in the way that they sent out a speedster who has literally had her powers for just a couple of hours, which is just really odd. Now, she's got purple lightning. Now, the whole thing with speedster powers, they all have different lightning. Obviously, if you use Velocity 7 and 9, you had different powers, or kind of colours. Barry has his own colours. And the only other speedster that we had with purple lightning was, of course, the Accelerated Man. Now, we haven't seen him whatsoever. He's just chilling on Earth 19. Now, in an upcoming episode, we do actually have Danny Trejo's Breacher coming back, and this is in a Kevin Smith episode. So maybe this was a primer onto finding out why there is actually a big difference in the speedster colours. Now, personally, I'm going to go ahead and think, this is just my idea, that what happens is, if you get the Speed Force from a manner which either isn't Velocity or kind of you're born with it, you have purple lightning. So if you kind of get it through those means that we had in this episode, or you're given it in some sort of maybe experiment or something like that, then maybe that's how you get the purple lightning, which is just a really, really small idea there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Obviously, Eobard Thawne, we don't particularly know how he got his powers here in the whole thing, but we know that he did kind of try and recreate the experiment, and he did get the powers from his suit, the kind of Barry suit in the future in some origin, so we don't know really the kind of TV version of his origin too well. But the other biggest thing here is the whole thing with the Thinker. Now, the thinking cap has been used by Harrison Wells, and he found the whole of the Star Labs footage of that night in question. Now, maybe that could have come in handy in the trial of the Flash, or the trial of Barry at least. But no, sloppy writing once again, just absolutely bizarre. And he managed to work out the bus meta last two names straight away. What? Just what? How did he work that out? It just does not make any bloody sense whatsoever. I guess they'd explain it or something like that, but if the Thinker couldn't get them all straight away, why has Harrison Wells been able to do it in just pretty much a minute? So yeah, just real problems there. And I can see maybe Harrison Wells going down the future line of maybe he will use this too much and maybe get addicted to it. just like the Thinker, where it kind of changed him, and maybe this is going to change Harrison Wells a lot as well, and they're going the parallels route of the Reverse Flash. However, that is it for this video. Please do consider dropping a like, please do subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.